Growing up, a murmuration was a rare but beautiful sight in rural Ireland. Seeing starlings twisting and turning before returning to the fold was inspiring because throughout all of the transitions, they remained this incredibly close, connected network. And I often wondered if they practiced those beautiful exhibitions in the sky, because as a teenager, I questioned for years what tribe I wanted to be a part of, teaching or journalism. It wasn't such a binary choice in the end, because after 5 years in education, I realized that both educators and journalists had the power to make education the great liberator. And I now had the ability to make change my only constant in life, because I had a vocation grounding me. 7 years in traditional journalism, 5 years with Storyful, taught me my craft in journalism, but by late 2015, I had an itch to do something way beyond my comfort zone, and I was asking myself, what would you do if you weren't afraid? Well, the last time I stood on this very stage was in March 2017 as Facebook's head of global journalism partnerships. And the weekend was an attempt to escape the daily firefighting and think about some long-term bets. And those 19 months with Facebook for sure were challenging but rewarding. But simultaneously, the Sulzberger program in Columbia University was turning on the lights for me on a lot of journalism issues I really cared about. And once those lights were on, there was no turning them off. And so last October, I decided to start again, to leave stability in New York City for the unknown in Dublin, for basically starting a company of just 5 people to start again. But before I made that leap, I should tell you I was also, just weeks pregnant and trying to figure out also the D and the DVP, were people dissatisfied enough to want to actually change their news experience, to stop putting up with the irritating ads, the endless scroll. And last October, this was the title of one of our slides in Neva Labs, the prediction that a movement was coming of people taking back control and saying enough, let's start again. And we made a lot of bold predictions this last year, saying that the advertising model is broken, but millennials will pay for news. But if we're going to build something special, we have to do it from the outside in hand with people. And so Mark and I gave ourselves permission to start again, literally with a blank whiteboard and only one agenda, that of people, not of publishers, not of advertisers, if we were going to build something worthy of people's time and trust. So we set about building this experience that was, free of misinformation and manipulation. I can tell you now, it required 2 Gantt charts, one for pregnancy and one for MVP, because both were due around the same time in May of this year. So I have to tell you, starting a family and starting a company at exactly the same time requires ruthless prioritization, pulling out your plan Bs and pushing stuff out into the wild, making mistakes and just learning. But along the way, I became obsessed with this idea of time well spent and your best intentions. And for me, a work-life balance was no longer an optional extra. And so as a team, we started working in these 30-minute bursts of tracking our goals, of doing self-journals, and of saying to each other, where are we trying to come from and where are we trying to get to? And just very naturally as a team, we started to ground ourselves in some common principles so that we could work alone together and somehow find the end of the beginning. And it's made me reflect a lot on my own twists and turns and changes. And I know now that my constant always was a love for journalism, but a sense of urgency for its sustainability. And I think all those vantage points that I've had of the industry have made me just fall in love with its problems again and again. And now I'm ready for the next chapter, and please keep this slide within the cone of silence and its name. The name is Kinzen, and as I say, keep it within cone of silence for now till we go live. And it's the idea of building a personal news service that people can control. Building a community from the ground up where people can trust in shared facts, in valued sources, where it's about the best intentions of its members, not the worst instincts of its crowd, where people can feel a sense of kinship amongst their citizens, where I would like to think you have the feeling of being part of a movement, belonging, almost a murmuration. And for those of you who want to start again, who want to test, who want to curate, who want to help us debate the issues, please, in the coming weeks, watch for that switch from Neva Labs to Kinsen so that you can do something that makes us all feel like we're starting again, taking control and giving people back a special, productive experience of news and information. Thank you.